Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Harmony. And today's guest is actually somebody that I met on LinkedIn. He and I really resonated with each other's messages on leadership and mindset and what it takes to be a top performer. So I could think of no one better to bring on the show than Jerrod Hardy. Jerrod Hardy is a mission driven leader with more than 21 years in law enforcement and service as a United States Air Force veteran. A former mixed martial arts fighter and the host of the On Purpose podcast, Jerrod is known for his work in resilience, accountability, and intentional leadership. He is the founder of Team Hardy and creator of the Excellence in Leadership course, helping individuals and organizations lead with clarity, courage, and purpose. An aspiring endurance athlete, ooh, I can't wait to dig into that. He brings a grounded, purpose-driven mindset to every arena of his life. Jerrod, my brother, welcome to Tactical Harmony Show.
Thanks for the intro, Rebecca. That was fantastic. I need to tell my wife all those things.
Well, maybe she's listening in the background,
Hey.
and I know that she is very, very proud of you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for what you're doing. The messaging, the voice, the encouragement are all needed more than ever in today's world, so I'm happy to contribute to the cause.
Thank you, Jerrod. Like I said, and I mean what I say, I could not think of anyone better to come on and really highlight and reinforce these themes. And so, as I was preparing for our conversation today, I was thinking about having you start talking to us about your transition from law enforcement into the civilian world, if you
Mm.
will. Like, what did that look like? Were there challenges that you faced? Was it maybe easier than you anticipated? I would love to hear that.
Yeah, I think the first thing I would share, especially for the members of the audience that are making a career change, is it's nobody else's job but yours to do it.
Yes.
Right? Like you can't sit back and think somebody else is going to find that next stage for you in life. And that's one thing we did. We were very intentional. We, meaning Andrea and I, our family, knew we were going to do 20 years and move to something else because, life is short and 20 years is a quarter roughly of giving. And we wanted to experience other things. So about 15 years in, I started planning, what did I want to do next? And I looked at what did I really enjoy about the job? And I always tell people I didn't solve the biggest cases. I wasn't on the news all the time for the actual job. But what I did is I ran our training academy and I loved coaching and I loved getting people to believe in themselves and to face challenges with courage instead of fear. So that's kind of where I started niching down. I go, okay, I can take this message to the civilian world. I can take this with me. All my experience in this area can come with me. So I'm not starting over when I leave, but I'm building upon what I created. And that was really the game plan of what do I like about this job? What do I want to take with me? What would I like to leave behind? And how can I monetize this to provide a living for us? Which is kind of a scary thing in law enforcement government, right? Like, oh my gosh, should I make more money than they say I'm worth? Yeah, you should absolutely make more money. You should make as much as you think you're worth. And I think sometimes people struggle with that, right? Because we're used to just a set pay rate. I know what you make, you know what I make because we're graded. And that was really the start for us was getting out. And I would say that was probably the biggest challenge for me is going from 20, with Air Force and 21 years in law enforcement, finding my own personal value when I left, being able to explain to people, this is why the contract's going to cost what it costs. This is what I'm bringing. This is what we're going to deliver. And I can't tell you how many times Andrea's like, oh my gosh, you basically gave that away free again. And I'm like, I'm still working on it, That was probably the hardest transition was creating your own worth and believing in it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's really true. And it's something that I too have encountered in my transition from NCIS to the private sector and certainly in entrepreneurship is having that worthiness to receive.
Mm.
And even though you might have confidence and you know what you are good at and you can feel that passion and share that passion with others to really grow and develop them, It's having that worthiness to receive in a different container. And that is something very candidly and vulnerably that I struggled with, is that worthiness that no, I have these skills. I know what I can do. It doesn't mean that I have to have a badge and gun on my around my waist. I can do this in a different sector. And that's really, such a personal journey. And so I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Well, and you think about it, like any other place where we've been, I don't have to establish that because my job title establishes it for me, right? I walk in, I'm the training coordinator. Well, I already have a certain level of status. People are going to listen. People are going to buy in. Oh, well, he's doing this job. He must know what he's doing. When you make that switch and you give up all the rank structure, and now it's just you as an entrepreneur, it's you as an individual competing with other entrepreneurs, only you create your value, which is a blessing and a curse, right? Because it takes time to build name recognition. It takes time to build the audience, but it's so worth it because you control. If something goes bad, it's your fault. Something goes great, do it again. You fail, you fall on your face. Okay, let's learn a lesson. Let's move. And we can pivot quicker when it's us, when we're doing what we're supposed to do. And I think that's probably been the greatest blessing of this journey, moving out of government work into the private sector, is the speed at which I'm allowed to pivot and recreate.
I love that. And the ownership piece in particular, I think I really want to double click on that, is we own the success, we own the failure, and we own everything in between.
Yeah, and nobody else is responsible, right? Nobody else. And I think even I love that mindset even in our teams that we came from and the background we have, because ownership is taking pride. It is taking accountability. It is saying, hey, this is my fault. But it's magnified when you leave it and throw all the dice down on yourself and say, wait, I can create a whole new life here. So there's no intention of saying, oh, we've always done it this way. We're going to continue to do it this way when it's not working and you need to adapt quicker. And don't be afraid of that. That's what I would say to anybody that's thinking about making a transition, whether you're going into entrepreneurship or you're going to go leave and just retire or go into, another corporate job or another government gig. Just don't be afraid of it. Right? Like it's okay to change. It's okay to challenge yourself. And we're always bigger than the titles we put behind our name. And that's one of the most important messages I like to share, is what I call who over what. Who we are is always going to be a greater thing than what we do to make money. And we got to remember that sometimes.
Yeah, we sure do. And sometimes the universe will give us a not so subtle reminder.
Mm.
I have found that to be the case in my own journey, and a lot of people around me, whether it's a loved one or a colleague. The universe will keep giving you that same message or that same lesson until we integrate, until we finally get it. And then we can advance to the next level. And of course, another level, another devil, another lesson, another character building moment. But Jerrod, I'd love to get your take on this. So clearly you have such passion for training and leadership and really helping others really harness that courage instead of fear. And when you left law enforcement, you could have taken it so many different directions. What made you choose your podcast and opening your business and training? Like what made you choose that route when you could have chosen so many other different paths?
Honestly, I felt like I had to give back. Right? I felt like, and I don't mean to be negative on this, but I saw a lot of people that would leave the profession that were really good at what they did. And they would say things like, oh, I'm going to get out and just be the Walmart greeter. I'm going to go fishing all the time or golfing. And well, what happens to all your knowledge? How do the young people learn from that if you're not sharing that? And it's not to say that I had this unique knowledge that nobody else could share, but I just really put the value on sharing what I knew. And what I always thought was like my ceiling, as good as I got at whatever I did, should be the floor for the next generation. Meaning they should build upon how good I was because they're going to create their own path. And they can't do that if I don't stay in the space. They can't do that if I don't show up and share our successes, our failures, what worked, what didn't work. And I think sometimes we are quick to dismiss the past. so-and-so worked in the past. We don't have much to learn, but we have a lot to learn. But it's also a responsibility for the people that have the experience to share it with the new folks. And that was really the calling for me was, okay, what can I do that gives back? But in a bigger, instead of one agency and one city, I want to reach as many people as I can. And thankfully, podcasting was coming online. We started ours in 2019, so we're 7 years starting in a week. Thanks. And yeah, it's just like the most humbling thing you get, when you get a message from somebody that you never met around the world that says, they were inspired or they faced a challenge or they overcame something because of a conversation you helped share. And if we don't do that, they don't hear it.
Absolutely. And again, it goes back to that radical accountability and that ownership of, okay, I have all of these lessons and blessings and things that I've learned, and it's my responsibility, my job to give it back. And I agree, obviously, with the podcast and the platform, which is one of the reasons that I chose this route as well. So I appreciate you, Jerrod. I know a lot of people actually that have benefited from your podcast, to include myself. So I want to
Thank you.
thank you for what you are doing and what you stand for. So my next question, and I have so many questions prepared for you, but you may have indicated it a little bit, but I would love to hear, what is your why? And I think maybe you danced around it and you kind of hinted at it a little bit, but if I were to ask you, what is your why? Why do you get up in the morning? How would you explain that to us?
If there's one gift that I have that might make me uniquely different, it's that I've always known my why. Always, even as a little kid. And I'll take you all the way back to it. We were living in Illinois at the time, and I had a birthday. I was probably 3 or 4 maybe. And at this birthday party, I remember having multiple cakes. And I remember thinking like, wow, I have so many cakes. This is amazing. I would look out the window and we're right next to a fire station. And I watched the fire trucks go off. And I was like, wow, this is like the best day ever. I'm watching fire trucks. I got all these cakes. And it wasn't until I was probably in my mid-20s that I asked my mom, I was like, hey, do you remember this birthday I had where I had like a bunch of cakes, like 3 or 4 different cakes? And I watched the fire trucks and she's like, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, why did I have so many cakes? Like, I never quite understood this. Well, it turns out, my mom had me when she was 16 years old. So I was actually at her GED classes with her. So we couldn't afford daycare. So I went to school with my mom. So I was basically at her high school class. And all the other young moms made cakes for me as well. So I have known since I was little that my mom gave up a lot to keep me and to have me. And that is my purpose, my mission is to make sure that I live my life on the extremes, trying as many things as possible that she didn't get a chance to do because of that decision. And I never wanted her to look back at any point in her life and wonder if it was the right thing to do. So that is literally been with me since I was a little person. And I share it with my kids. I share it with my wife. I share it with as many people as I can, because when you know why you're doing something, stubbing your toe in the process doesn't hurt as bad, right? Falling down and scraping your knee, it's okay. You'll throw a bandage on it. You'll get up. You'll go again. And I always encourage people to stop and think, like, why do we do what we do? And find that why. Because when you know why you're doing something, quitting usually isn't going to be an option. Failing is. Coming up short's fine. Not being perfect's fantastic. But quitting won't happen. And I've publicly shared that story many, many times because, one, my mom loves to hear it. And two, when I tell you, now you also know my why. So now you know, Rebecca, if you see me slacking, if all of a sudden a Thursday comes next year and you're like, wait, he didn't release a podcast and it's Thursday, you know to check in on me. Right? And here's the beauty of knowing our why is for us. But sharing our why creates a community that can help us obtain it, can help us live up to it. So you can call me and go, Jerrod, what happened? I haven't seen you on LinkedIn. I haven't seen your podcast. Is everything okay? Right? Which is what we need more of in the world.
Amen.
Is not self-driven, selfish why, but a why where, wait a second, we're connected because I know, Rebecca, why you do what you do. And when I know why you do what you do, I'm more graceful for your shortcomings. I allow you to work through mistakes. I'm not as quick to judge or to dismiss. And see, that's the beautiful thing of knowing your why is you inspire others to know theirs, but then you share. And when you share, now your community is built far beyond any of the surface level social media, any of the shallow stuff that a lot of relationships are built on in 2025, almost 2026. And instead, they're actually built on who we are and what we're trying to become. Who doesn't want more of those relationships in life?
Exactly. Wow. Yes. So giving giving is receiving. It really truly is. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, whom I study under with regards to meditation and all of his amazing teaching, is famous for saying that having gratitude, it's the ultimate state of receivership. And I am so grateful when I am able to give to others. And all of that is so beautifully and divinely interwoven. And the world absolutely needs more of that. And one other thing that you said, Jerrod, is grace. And I think grace is such a power and it's such a strength to be able to give to others and also give to yourself. And I don't know if anyone listening to this might be struggling with this, but I know that I had all the grace in the world for others, but I never gave grace to myself. So, as Jared just explained his amazing journey and why he does what he does forever, let us not forget that we should also be giving that to ourselves as well. So, when you do fall down, you give yourself a little bit of grace, you dust yourself off, you get back up, and you keep going. So, really making sure that you have that vision and that anchor to your why will make the trials, the tribulations, the struggles, which will happen, a little bit easier because you know what your prize is. You're keeping your eye on that, your eyes on the target, and you're unrelenting.
Yeah, and yeah, 100%, I agree with that. And I think also realizing that your purpose, your why, isn't a destination. It's an ongoing journey.
Yes.
It's going to need nurturing. It's going to need refinement. It's going to need time to sit with. And I would say that's probably one of the things that I like to share with people is like, what are we in a race to get to? Because at the end of this life, we're dying. So what are we in such a hurry to get there for? Like, how about we enjoy this conversation? How about we enjoy the morning birds or the cup of coffee? Or we just stop for a minute and look at all the people around us that contribute to our life in some way. And we say thanks.
That's so beautiful. Absolutely so beautiful. It was a recent podcast that I was interviewing someone and he referenced giving that kindness in a way to actually write a letter and be intentional in writing a letter to somebody, which takes such it's an effort. It's very deliberate. It's very intentional. But in a world where there's text messages and phone calls and social media, stand out, pick up a piece of paper or buy a card from the store and hand write out your gratitude or your thanks or a message of love or kindness to somebody and give it to them or send it to them. And I thought that was such a beautiful thing to highlight, kind of what you're highlighting right now, that it's just giving that person that notice that, yep, I'm grateful for you. I see you. And in a world filled with chaos and noise, I see you.
For sure.
Switching gears, you mentioned this a little bit when I asked you about your why and having that extreme. I think that's the word you used. So, speaking of that, as you annotated, you are an aspiring endurance athlete and the mixed martial arts and all of that. I find that that's such incredible talent and it's very inspiring. But I would love to hear from you, Jerrod. What has it taught you about mindset?
That's a good question. Well, the mixed martial arts, I was actually doing that while I was a police officer, while I was running our academy. And it allowed me to lead from the front, right? Like people could see, like, wait a second, he doesn't just teach, like he's putting in extra hours outside of class. He's willing to get in there to see, can he do what he thinks he can do? So I'd say the biggest thing it's taught me is remain humble, right? We have a tendency, especially as we move up in ranks and we get different titles, that our ego becomes a little bigger than it should be. So it keeps your ego in check. It reminds you to be humble because there's always somebody better than you. in mixed martial arts. Like, you're never going to be perfect. Very few people ever retire undefeated. And the ultra running, you don't know what problems are going to come your way yet. So you have to be grounded because it's really problem solving while exercising and snacking. That's really why I love it. Three of my favorite things. I get to solve problems, I get to exercise, I get to eat snacks all the time. Who doesn't want to do that?
What's not to love?
Right. But the other thing it does for me, and this is something we've been very intentional for, is it allows my kids to see me constantly recreating and taking challenges and being willing to not be good at something, but try it because I think I might enjoy it. Like, I've never enjoyed running. My whole life, running was punishment for not being good at my other sports or trying to lose weight for fights. Like, that was the only reason I ran. So now to be like, wait, dad's going to go run 100 miles in the mountains of Montana. And he's going to try to do it in 24 hours. Why? And I'm like, why wouldn't I do it? It's become a thing. Like, I should try this. I think I might like it. And it goes back to kind of our whole conversation, Rebecca. When my kids or my communities, the people I'm around, see me do new things that I might not be good at, but I want to try, a lot of times it untaps that in them. Now they want to try something new, or maybe they want to come with me. And you can't lead people to choose courage over fear if you don't model it for them, if you don't demonstrate it. And my kids know not to come to me to tell me they're afraid of something without a solution. It's okay to be afraid, but what are we going to do about it? Right. And that's what it does. And that, I think that's one of the biggest lessons is you don't know who you're going to inspire by taking chances in your own life because they're watching you. And if we sit with that for a second, Rebecca, if we realize like, okay, today I'm going to be watched by 10 people that are going to make a decision in their life that can make their life better based on what they see me do, but I don't know who they are. How would I act? Right? Think about how would I act? A lot of times, sadly, I think many of us would act differently than we should have or than we did. But if we wake up and go, okay, who am I going to inspire today? Like, who's following me? I better be on my game. Well, you're going to take some chances. You're going to do some new stuff. You're going to realize life is short. Why do I want to live the same chapter over and over? It makes sense. Let's go run in the mountains. I'm not going to do that forever. I'll have a short window in my life. I do this and I'm going to find something else I want to do. Because why wouldn't I? And I think that counterbalances getting held to the past because of what we used to do, because of the titles I used to have, the positions I used to. Those are great. Those are great experiences to propel you forward, but they shouldn't be anchors that keep you from trying new things.
Yeah, that's there was a lot of nuggets there. Starting with the last thing you just said, and I think a lot of us do this in law enforcement. I know so many people that do it, is they let it define them and they let it overtake their identity. And I'm not saying it's a malicious thing or it can be a bad thing, but if you are not there for your family and your loved ones and what really lights you up and not living your why and aligning with those values, the title is just that. It's a title. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be proud of it. And it represents service, which is my why, and giving back and selfless sacrifice. There's a lot of things that can be attached to a title, but if you let it take you over completely and you don't realize that, as you said, Jerrod, there are seasons in life. There are chapters. I had a chapter where I was an NCIS agent, and then I closed that chapter and I went along to do other things. And you had that chapter in the Air Force, and then you had your chapter in law enforcement. And there are seasons, and you are the creator of your reality. You are the director. You are the CEO. You are all of those things. And I think there's a danger in life right now where we're giving that away unconsciously, maybe, but we're giving that power to others. Well, what will Susie think? Well, what will Bill think if I do this or that? Instead of really listening to your gut and your intuition and doubling down on your why. And that's where the happiness and the peace comes from. And like you said, Jerrod, in the process, in the journey, not always trying to arrive somewhere and get to the next thing, because then you're rushing your life. You're
Mhm.
rushing so much, you're not enjoying where you are.
Yeah, and think about this: if you were gonna die tomorrow, would you care what Susie thought, or would you want to enjoy today? You know what I mean? Like we spend so much time giving energy to people we don't even care about their opinions, yet we care about their opinions. Why? Why do we do this? And yeah, and that's one of my big things is I don't know when this ride ends, but I want to get my money's worth. I don't want to feel cheated at the end of the day. And maybe I'm not great at everything. I'm good with that, but I'm at least going to try it if it interests me. And it's hard to write a new chapter in life. It's hard to engage the version of you if you always have one foot back in where you came from.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying like don't every now and then take a stop, look back and go, wow, I've come a long ways. Look at my past successes, right? Because that is good to know. Because when you face challenges in the future, you can rely on your past successes will help get you through future challenges. 100% agree with that. But if I'm always referencing myself to who I used to be, I can't become who I'm supposed to be. And who suffers? Who suffers if I don't become who I'm supposed to be? The people around me, the people that I love, but I can't be fully there because I'm worried about the past, and that's a big thing for me is like, am I where I am? Or am I here, but I'm thinking about three things there. I'm thinking about four more emails. I'm thinking about, oh, no, no, like just be here for a minute. Slow your time down. You're only going to have one conversation with Rebecca today. Enjoy it. All the other stuff will come later. But those are the little things that we don't realize as leaders make a difference to the people that follow us. As friends, make a difference to the people in our lives. And to your family, those are the memories they're going to have most. Is the small things that we often thought were inconsequential. Show up for them. Be there.
Presence. Presence is such a force. And I am guilty, like I think a lot of people are. I'm thinking about the next thing. I'm thinking about my never-ending to-do list, and instead anchoring in this beautiful, generous, gorgeous moment that we are all blessed to have, not knowing if we're gonna be granted another moment, another day, and just allowing that for me, it sobers me. It's so just enthralling that I am given this beautiful day. I'm talking to you, Jerrod, my good friend. We are talking about such wonderful topics that are going to help grow people and push people and inspire them and get them to act. And that is a gift. And I have a couple more questions for you because I know we're coming up on time. So I'm going to switch gears and as we talk about success, success leaves clues. And that can be different for, a lot of different people and how they manifest success and what they do to that enables them to be successful. And so for you, Jerrod, I would love to hear what is something that you do? It could be a habit or a practice that allows you to operate at this amazing level of performance that you're able to hold with all of the many hats that you wear.
Moving my body, hands down. I have to, and my wife even knows that. Like if I get a little off kilter, I'm a little shorter than I should be. She'll be like, you need to go for a run. You need to go out and do something. Hands down, physical fitness, sweating allows me to solve problems. It allows me to think different. It keeps my body moving the way I want it to move. And ultimately, hopefully, it allows me to be here a long time to enjoy what we're creating. Right. Because if I create something, but it kills me in the process, then was it really worth it?
Yes, movement is powerful. I definitely agree that it's one of the things that I do often. I mean, I do it every day. I may not go for a run every day or have a
Yeah.
big, cardio workout, but if I'm feeling a certain way, maybe frustration, or especially if it's a lower frequency emotion, if I move my body, and especially if I do that outside in nature, oh, take that deep breath and just move that energy, right? Emotions are energy in motion. And so when I'm moving my body, I'm moving that energy, I'm moving my blood, I'm feeling better. And like you said, I'm able to get better clarity. I'm able to calm down, tame my body, have that clear mind, and then move on. And I think it's very simple. And so often, and I'm guilty of this too, we can overcomplicate things when really it's go for a walk. What's your answer? Go for a walk. Go outside, breathe in the fresh air, go for a walk, and that could solve so many of life's problems.
And it's usually one of the first things we eliminate if we don't have time, right? We get that I don't have time itis. One of the first things we cut is our self care. And that's really the last thing you should cut.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question for you, Jerrod, is if no one listens to any part of this podcast but this next moment, what advice or what message would you like to leave our audience with as it pertains to either leadership, mindset, or performance?
What would I leave them with is that being afraid is good. It means you're about to do something that's scary. That's probably something new that's going to challenge you and allow you to grow, but not doing it's not the right answer, right? When you feel that fear, that's when you know you're on the right path because you're doing something that's worthwhile, that has risk, that's going to cause you to grow and put you in a new dimension, a new place. So you got to lean into it. We're so risk averse and fear adverse in today's society that I challenge that. I know when we get something presented to us, if it makes me feel afraid for a minute, like, ooh, I don't know. And the next thing is like, all right, let's do it. I'll figure out how we're going to do it, but let's do it. So lean into that fear, embrace it, and see what the hell you can create.
The world is a beautiful place and there's so much to create. Jerrod, you have dropped so many amazing gems in this episode. I cannot tell you how grateful I am for you and your time. And for those who want to reach out to you or maybe see what you're up to, where could they find you?
On all the socials, the podcast has its own theonpurposepodcast.com, and then on all the podcast apps, and then teamhardy.net is where we run our leadership programs and our coaching. And yeah, I would love to hear from you and see how we could work together and how we can help you. And Rebecca, thank you so much for sharing your platform. It's been a true pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Jerrod. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as well.